The millionaire never expected that a simple joke would change his life. Yet on that warm afternoon, in the middle of a crowded city street, a moment unfolded that would haunt him, humble him, and transform everything he believed about people. It began with a boy, a quiet, tired, sunburnt boy standing at a street corner with a wilted bouquet of roses clutched in his small hands. He looked too young to be working, too young to carry that kind of sadness in his eyes. But life hadn't given him the luxury of childhood. This is one of those moments that reminds us that kindness still matters, that the smallest act can ripple into something unforgettable. If you believe in kindness and humanity, don't forget to like, comment, and support the stories that keep those values alive. The boy's name was Armin, a 13-year-old who spent his after-school hours selling flowers while caring for his sick grandmother. He never complained, never begged, never asked for pity. Every petal he sold was a small fight for survival, and every smile he offered was genuine, even when his world felt heavy. That day, his clothes were worn, his shoes were broken, but he still held his roses with pride, arranging them carefully as if each one carried a heartbeat. Across the street, a sleek black car pulled up with tinted windows and a shine that reflected the sun like a mirror. From it stepped Mason Reddington, a self-made millionaire known for his sharp suits, sharper tongue, and the belief that money could solve or explain everything. He was the kind of man people stared at, some in admiration, others in fear, but Mason hardly noticed. His world moved too fast for details. He was on a call, briskly walking toward the building entrance when Armin stepped forward nervously, holding out the bouquet. Mason stopped, eyebrows raised, more out of annoyance than intrigue. He didn't need flowers. He didn't even like flowers. But arrogance had a way of turning small moments into performances that he smirked and said just loud enough for those around to hear. "Sell me these roses in Arabic, and I'll pay you $100,000. People laughed. Some shook their heads. A few took out their phones, ready to record the mockery. Mason expected the boy to stutter, blush, maybe even run away embarrassed. It was a joke to him, an arrogant, empty challenge from a man who had forgotten what humility looked like. But life has a way of giving lessons when we least expect them. Armin's face didn't crumble. Instead, his eyes softened with something that Mason had never seen directed at him before: gentle, quiet confidence. The boy adjusted his grip on the bouquet and began speaking softly, beautifully, fluently in Arabic. His voice flowed like warm honey, calm and melodic, turning that dusty street corner into something sacred. Every word was respectful, heartfelt, almost poetic. He described the roses as symbols of hope, of love, of patience. He spoke about how each flower was chosen with care, how every color carried meaning. The crowd went silent. Even the wind seemed to pause, and Mason froze. That it wasn't the fluency that struck him. It was the familiarity, the tone, the accent. The boy sounded exactly like Mason's late mother, a woman who had immigrated from Jordan and had spent years trying to teach her only son to appreciate their heritage. Mason had forgotten most of the language after she passed, burying it the way he buried his grief. But in Armin's voice, he heard her. He felt her. For the first time in years, Mason felt something crack open in his chest, something raw and fragile. The millionaire's eyes burned, and he blinked rapidly, looking away as if the sunlight was suddenly too harsh. He wasn't a man who cried in public. He wasn't even a man who allowed himself to feel. But hearing that language, the language of his childhood, the language of his mother, hit him like a wave he didn't know how to swim against. The crowd realized the moment had shifted. No one laughed anymore. Armin finished speaking and lowered the roses gently, waiting with the quiet dignity of someone who expected nothing. Not the money, not the applause, not even kindness. Mason swallowed hard. He reached for his wallet with trembling hands, pulling out a thick stack of bills and then stopping. Money wasn't enough. Money couldn't repay the wound that had just been reopened. He knelt, something he hadn't done willingly for anyone since he was a child, and handed the boy not 100,000, but everything he had in his wallet. It still wasn't close to the promise he made, but the boy shook his head and refused the extra bills, taking only what Mason had jokingly offered. This humility broke Mason further. He asked softly, "Where did you learn?" Armin